Cool, great. Thank you so much. It was so interesting. Thank you both to Gordon and Anya. All really good tips as well. I was listening in and saying yes, 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 yes. Thank you for mentioning those things. So great. I don't know if anyone has any questions. If there are anything you want to ask any of us, please feel free to write it in the chat or raise your hand or put it in the question and answer box, whatever works best for you. So we'll give it a minute to see if there are any questions that come in.
And just so everyone knows, if anyone has just any general questions too about applying to school, we can talk about that, not just information about Bentley, but just more in general, applying to graduate school in the US, how to do that.
Thank you. Yeah. Anything you want clarification on or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. And I also want to mention, and I know you mentioned it earlier, Nanor, but about the pre-departure meetings. If anybody gets accepted to a university like Bentley in the United States, I know Education USA does an amazing pre-departure seminar for everybody. So I would highly recommend that if you get accepted for fall of 2021 or any other date, to reach out to the Education USA Center like Nanor and participate in that. The students that have gone through it have loved it and have found it really beneficial.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. That's something that we do every year. So do get in touch.
One other thing I'm also going to throw out there, just because I didn't mention it before, and I know a lot of students have questions about this, is scholarships. So I'll mention for Bentley specifically that we do actually offer merit aid to both domestic and international students. And the way that you apply for that, for us at least, is really simple. On your application, it will ask you if you want to be considered for merit aid. If you want to be considered, you should click yes. And we kind of make that consideration based on the quality of your application. So really, we're looking for those good grades. We're looking for really solid letters of recommendation. All of those things that Gordon talked about earlier are really what's going to be able to set you apart to be able to get that scholarship.
Great, good point. Yes, that is something most students always ask about, so thank you. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions coming in, unless anyone wants to quickly say, wait 1 second. Oh, there is one question that has come in. Can you read it in the chat box?
Yeah, it says, the question is, do you think an MBA is a good way to complement other studies that aren't necessarily business-based, such as a social science degree? That's a great question. And I think the easy answer is yes, because one thing about an MBA is that it really kind of gives you a full spectrum and a full knowledge of how business works across in all of the foundational areas like, economics, finance, accountancy, HR, IT, and leadership and strategy as well. And so we actually get a lot of students at our university for the MBA program from not just business backgrounds, but we get a lot of engineers, we get a lot of people who work for nonprofits, we get a lot of people who work in the science areas as well. And the reason being is that typically after a few years of working in your particular field, they find that as they continue to grow in their particular industry, that you kind of get away from doing kind of the more, engineering or science stuff, and you get more into the people management. You find that you're working more with the finance department, you're dealing with budgets, you're dealing with cost constraints, you're dealing with, strategy development for the business. And so as you continue to grow in that career, you kind of do less of maybe what you initially did and more into the business side of it. And so that's where we start seeing a lot of candidates wanting to get their MBA so that they can specifically start having those types of skill sets to manage those types of areas. In specifics, I had a gentleman who used to work for Johnson & Johnson, which is a pretty big medical company around the world. And he was an engineer, and he had a lot of experience as an engineer, but he had no experience dealing with finance. He had no experience dealing with budgets, very little experience dealing with people management. And he suddenly found himself in a leadership role in a director's position within Johnson & Johnson. And all of a sudden he needed all of these new skill sets that he had never developed before because he'd studied engineering. And so he came back and got his MBA with us. So I think it is a great opportunity to make yourself a little bit more well-rounded, to give yourself some more additional skill sets, particularly as you develop in your career, that can be really beneficial and helpful you continue to grow as you go through. And again, the great thing about an MBA is that it's pretty universally recognized for the quality in business and giving you those leadership skills. So hopefully that answers your question for that particular one.
Yeah, great. Totally agree with everything that you've mentioned on that. And maybe one last thing related to financial aid and funding. Are there any assistantships or fellowships? Is that something that you guys offer, or is that common in the finance field? Or no, that is a question we get a lot from students.
I'll let Anya answer that because we do have assistants that I know she works with.
So would you mind repeating that? I heard the second half of what Gordon said and I did not hear your question.
Assistantships or fellowships in terms of funding on the graduate level in the world of finance.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So in terms of the way that our graduate assistantships work, we do have many of those kind of in, and I would say that they really are in all of the different programs. Basically the way that they work is you apply similarly to the way you apply for merit aid, and they serve in different, kind of it's a position you kind of get paid for throughout the year. And some of them you are working kind of in research, you're working with professors on different projects that they might be doing. Some of them are more administrative, but if as you're looking at finance, there may be some research that you can do. Ultimately, there are just kind of different fields in terms of those assistantships. There are different ways you can do them, but you kind of figure those out after you're offered the assistantship at Bentley specifically. I don't know if there's anything you want to add that I left out, Gordon.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good explanation. Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's really helpful. When it comes to fellowships, there are some schools here in the United States that offer fellowships at the graduate school level. Usually a fellowship, much similar to our graduate assistantship, involves research, working with a professor. Sometimes it involves like teaching and things like that as well. I do see a lot of fellowships, especially at the doctorate level. You see a lot of fellowships. At the grad school level, it depends on, the program, the university, things like that. You're going to want to reach out and see what specifically they do offer. But I do know that a lot of them do offer these graduate assistantships. And I'll tell you what the difference is. Fellowships usually is a paid position. Some fellowships, they'll pay you a small living stipend and usually covers the full tuition, where a graduate assistantship, at least at Bentley, and some of the other schools in the area, they are still a paid position, but it's either paid directly to you, or it's a reduction in tuition. They're usually, not all of them are fully funded positions. So, make sure that, if you're offered a graduate assistantship, if you're offered a type of fellowship or whatever type of scholarship that you're being offered from your institution, if you're not 100% sure, reach out to the admissions department, make sure that you confirm with them what that entails, what the responsibilities are, and how that'll work for you. Because again, we all call it, sometimes something different, like we call it merit aid, other people call it scholarships, graduate assistantships. So just reach out and make sure that whatever type of funding you get, you understand what kind of comes along with that. But Nora, thank you for that question. I think that's a great question.
That was great information on that. Thank you. Cool. Fabulous. Let's just double check if there's anything that we might have missed.
Don't see anything.
Okay. Cool. So I think we'll end it here unless there's anything else you guys wanted to mention before we finish the session. Anya or Gordon?
I think we covered
a whole
lot there.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
No, I think it was great. Once again, I appreciate you both taking the time to be with us. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. And as you know, Education USA is here to help you with any part of the process of applying to study in the US at the higher education level. And you have the contact information of Anya and Gordon, so reach out to them as well. sounds like they'd be happy to be in touch with you. Okay, so have a good evening, everybody. Thank you, and we hope to be in touch.
Have a good evening, everyone. Bye.
Have a good evening.
Ciao.